What's up gamers, Cryptico here, and welcome back to Lowering the Mark, a show where I analyze the current and former world records of Mario Kart 8 Deluxe time trial runs to see how these records get faster over time. We'll look at elements such as the loadout, racing lines, and mushroom usage to better understand what's bringing these times down. If you haven't already, please consider subscribing to my channel and hit the notification bell to be the first to know when my videos go live. For today's episode, we're taking a look at another course from the old days, Donut Plains 3 at 150cc. On May 6, 2017, the world record for this run was set at 1 minute 17.367 seconds by the American player Doodle. Just about a month ago, on October 7, 2020, the world record was lowered to 1 minute 13.888 seconds by the Canadian player Braydon. That's a 3.4 second improvement between records and a 4.5% faster time. Our former world record holder Doodle has broken 71 world records across 17 unique runs and has spent an impressive 677 days holding at least one world record. Our current world record holder Braydon has only broken 10 world records across 3 unique runs and has spent 175 days holding at least one world record, but he has been pretty lethal on this track for the past few months. Since my channel is so big and awesome, I'm able to collaborate with some pretty important people, and today I've got one of those people here to help me out with this world record. Let's bring him out.
Hey, I'm Braydon and I'm the world record holder for Donut Plains 3.
Braydon here was eager to drop by and answer a few questions as well as provide commentary over his world record run. We'll get to that here soon. At pre-release, the world record was set at just under 120, but players would immediately take it down to 117. Doodle and French player Kamek went toe-to-toe and brought the time into the low 117s. Kamek would eventually pull away and even post the first 116 before fellow French player Extreme chimed in and got a few records of his own. This definitely didn't faze Kamek because he came right back at Extreme, grabbing the next second break and dipping into 115 territory. Kamek's epic month on this course had come to a close where he topped out at a 115.1 before some newer players stepped up and brought the time down further. American player Darren would grab the next big sub and hit a 114.9 that would stand for over 150 days. Doodle came back into the mix and battled with a few other players for the record before he emerged with his 114.3, and then Braydon started to run the course. The next 8 world records would come from Braydon and he would drop nearly half of a second on his way to 113.8. In total, the world record was broken 61 times by only 13 players. We've got 2 fairly matched loadouts for today's episode. Doodle goes with the combo of Waluigi driving the Streetle Cart with the roller wheels and the Cloud Glider, while Braydon goes with the popular combo of Baby Daisy driving the Bitty Buggy Cart, also with the roller wheels and the Parachute Glider. Waluigi and Baby Daisy are about as opposite in stats as you can get in this game, especially around speed and handling. We see the inverse in both categories, while Braydon holds the advantage in acceleration and mini-turbo stats. Both of the carts here drop the top speed stat, but give major increases to both acceleration and mini-turbo stats. Doodle comes away with half-point increases to each of those areas, while Braydon reaps a near full-point increase to those same stats. The Bitty Buggy also increases his handling more than the Streetle Cart would, making it the better option. More roller wheels means higher acceleration, handling, and mini-turbo. Not much else to say about that. The Cloud and Parachute Gliders do the exact same things to both of the loadouts, so there's really no wrong choice here. We see those final bumps in acceleration, handling, and mini-turbo along with a small decrease in weight and top speed. The Parachute Glider is enough for Braydon to come away with max handling and mini-turbo stats, which put his loadout well above Doodle's. This course is from a time where all courses looked basically the same. It's just your basic racetrack with winding roads, opportunities to chain drifts, and oil slicks on literally every turn. The gold standard of Mario Kart back in the 90s. Doodle hits a rocket start out of the gate and gets into a tight drift resulting in a super mini turbo. After crossing the bridge, he uses his first mushroom to cut a huge chunk of this second turn out before going into S2.
So to start the race, I just get a mini turbo to get to top speed as fast as I can, and then I approach the shortcut immediately and I just aim for 4 flowers. I go for the middle of it, and then to exit there's like a little green plant that I aim for because it lines up with the wall pretty well.
We've already got some major differences between these 2 runs. Using the mushroom at the beginning and hitting that no item shortcut are huge time saves, and it's the reason Braydon's lead over Doodle is just under 9/10 of a second, not even 10 seconds into the race. After dropping off into the water, Doodle takes a Nisk of his own to cut out that third turn before snaking around to collect a few coins before the end of this section.
I start this section off with a mini turbo in the water and immediately start charging a UMT, which I use to exit the water. And when I do exit the water, I don't go for the first coin for reasons that I'll explain on lap 2. And when I land, I do a counter hop, but this counter hop isn't really necessary. I just kind of do it for alignment. It's just kind of a habit that I picked up.
Now even though he takes that same Nisk at the beginning, Braydon is able to get an Ultra Mini Turbo and carry more speed through the rest of the section thanks to that Max Mini Turbo stat, something that Doodle misses out on. That little boost is all Braydon needs to be ahead of Doodle by just under a second going into S3. Now Doodle will hit an Ultra Mini Turbo of his own around the bend before getting a jump boost on the gopher path. He'll end the lap by grabbing 2 quick Mini Turbos while staying on a pretty good line all throughout.
So for this section, I released the UMT that I charged from last section, and then charge a mini turbo before I trick off the moles. And then it's pretty much just a mini turbo into a UMT while collecting the coins to end the lap.
That's just a much better job by Braydon at closing out the first lap. His better driving and longer lasting mini turbos definitely contribute to his lead, which now finally sits at just over 1 second. Doodle stays on a solid line up until that first turn, which he'll take really tight and get a super mini turbo before coming across the bridge and cutting out that same large chunk of the second turn before the water.
So this section is pretty much exactly the same as it was in lap 1, with the only difference being that I take the UMT boost from the end of lap 1 and chain it with the first mini turbo boost of lap 2.
It's actually insane how much time this cut saves. Braydon has added another full second to his lead, which now sits at just over 2 seconds at the end of S1, and it's all thanks to that mushroom cut. Doodle takes that same no item shortcut out of the water and chains the following mini turbos in the winding road a bit tighter than on lap 1 since there are fewer coins to collect here.
Okay, so now you'll see why I don't go for the extra coin on lap 1. So basically what I do is when I exit the water, I immediately start another mini turbo to try and re-enter the water. You'll notice that I get slowed by the grass when I do this, but it's possible to not get slowed by the grass. And then once I'm in the water, I just try and align myself to get all 3 of the coins, and then a fast water exit to then cut off the last turn of this section.
Now, I actually didn't know that this strat even existed on this run, but it sure is crazy how he's able to chain that Ultra Mini Turbo to another Super Mini Turbo and follow that whole thing up with a Nisk that saves so much time. That is not easy to pull off, let me tell you, but it actually doesn't increase his lead. That Nisk surprisingly sets him back a few hundred milliseconds, but the lead is still safe as he sits a comfortable 1.7 seconds ahead of Doodle at the end of S2. Now there's no gopher path jump boost this time around, so Doodle just stays on a good line and chains a few mini turbos together to close out this lap.
So I do 3 off-road hops here to skip the turn, and the final hop I try to hop onto the mole trail to get a trick, and then align myself for a second trick, which I end up missing. So then after this, I just go for the final no item shortcut, which is pretty much 2 well-timed hops. And then I just do 2 mini turbos to end off the lap.
There's so many opportunities here for no item shortcuts, and Braydon was sure to take advantage. The fact that he's able to pull off multiple grass cuts like that is simply astounding and by no means an easy feat. Those little time saves make up those 3/10ths that he lost earlier and gains an additional 10th on his lead, which now sits at 2.1 seconds going into the final lap. Now, Braydon and I both agree that this final lap is pretty similar to lap 1, so we're going to skip over that part. Basically, all you need to know is that both racers just stick to their lines and hit their shortcuts as well as they can. For Braydon, there's a little more pressure on lap 3 because, well, it's lap 3 and he still needs to execute those no item shortcuts to stay on pace. The only difference here is that he actually takes the final Nisk before the finish line instead of drifting out to collect coins. Overall, it's a really solid run by both racers, but Braydon comes out on top with a time that's just under 3.5 seconds faster than Doodle's former world record. So by hitting more Nisks throughout the course, chaining longer lasting mini turbos all throughout it, and saving so much time on a better mushroom cut, Braydon was able to take this record down to times that were unthinkable in years prior, going from a 114.3 to this 113.8. Let's see what his thoughts are on this world record. What was going through your mind when you went 113 for the first time?
When I hit 113 for the first time, the first thing that went through my head was, sick, I can stop playing this track now. And then the second thing was I wanted to get a good screenshot. I was pretty tired, so I wasn't really that excited.
Are there any strats that you specifically introduced to help bring this record down?
So I personally haven't come up with any strats on this track. I'm just kind of the first person that gets times with some new strats.
This run is far from perfect, as the best known splits add up to a time that's over half a second faster. Will you try to bring this record down further in the future?
I plan to take this a lot further down. My ultimate goal would be a 113.3, and I'm really hoping that I can get that at some point.
Thanks for coming on the show today, Braydon, and good luck on getting your goal time. Man, these best known splits are a mess. They're spread out across 3 different runs and held by 2 different players, and some of them are so much faster than the world record splits. The times that included these splits range from being nowhere near the top 10 to being one of the top 3 fastest times in the world. Laps 1 and 2 are atrocious, especially lap 2. Look at that, there's over 300 milliseconds just sitting there. That's just unheard of in Mario Kart time trials. Now Braydon did say he missed a jump boost on lap 2, which would have made up that time, so it's not like the split was a one-off, it can be replicated. Lap 3, however, is pretty close to what's seen in world record. With the best known splits being this far away from world record, it could really be anybody's record to take. The worldwide top 10 consists of 6 national record holders and 3 continental record holders. Braydon sits alone as the only player to go 113, and behind him are rivals Army and Alberto just under 4/10ths back from the top time. Doodle sits in 4th, being the highest ranked former world record holder I've taken a look at, and behind him is Japanese player Amond in 5th place, followed by 2 of his competitors, Muzuzo and Nator, at 6 and 7. 8th place belongs to the Swedish record holder Parishi, 9th place goes to Spanish player Nekuyan, and Axel rounds out the top 10. Braydon has been dominant on this track for a while now, and nobody seems to able to get close to his time, not that we can see. It might be some time before someone else is able to string together a 113 worthy run and challenge Braydon, but those 30 plus frames are up for grabs by anybody, only time will tell. That's the end of episode 25, and what a great one it was. Big shout out to Braydon for coming on the show this week. If you enjoyed this episode, like and share the video with your friends and comment on which course you want me to analyze next. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one.